Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. Another paid request this time for Bronson. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now this is for the film Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd. Now I actually saw this in the theater back in 2003 and liked it for what it was. And you know what? I actually still like the movie. Watch it again. I know it's a very hated movie. I know it's a movie that people go, well, how could anyone like this film? I did find this rather funny. And I will say this, I think this is a much better Dumb and Dumber movie and a funnier Dumb and Dumber movie than Dumb and Dumber 2. Because sadly, in that film, Harry and Lloyd did not feel or act like Harry and Lloyd. They felt much more mean spirited, or at least the humor felt more mean spirited, and it was really pushing more and more and more for gross out gags. It's like they felt, well, that scene when Jeff Daniels shit in the toilet and you had that long fart sequence. We gotta have much more of those type of scenes tenfold. And I'm like, that was my least favorite part of Dumb and Dumber. What I loved was the chemistry between the two characters and the interactions, verbiage of just showing just how dumb they are. And the timing of the comedy between their dialogue. Swimmy, Swami, oh, Samsonite, I was way off. You know, all that stuff. Austria, good day, mate. But Dumb and Dumber 2 just didn't have that. This, yes, it's not Jim Carrey. Yes, it's not Jeff Daniels because it's a prequel. I thought these two guys did a bang-up job of, whether you want to say mimicking, invoking the feel of these two characters. Derek Richardson, who's one of the stars of the first Hostel, he plays Harry, the Jeff Daniels role. Eric Christian Olsen playing Jim Carrey's role. They fit. They had good chemistry with each other. They bounced back and forth with each other very well. And I could buy these guys being the younger versions of those characters. You know, Harry being seemingly the more sweeter guy. Lloyd. It's hard to capture Jim Carrey's presence, but Eric Christian Olsen did a rather good job. His mannerism, his voice seemed like a younger Jim Carrey. Like, it fit. It fit really well. And more so, I'm surprised because this is the same guy who directed Jack Frost with Michael Keaton, which I was not a fan of. If I looked at his filmography, this might be one of the only films I've seen of this guy who I've liked, this director. Now, I know Eric Christian Olsen, he went on to be in one of those TV shows. I want to say it was NCIS Los Angeles, which I think that after, 10 or 12 or so years, it ended. He was also in the Thing prequel. He was in Cellular with Chris Evans. He's been in a few stuff. And it's pretty much like the title suggests how these two met. They're both. Harry is homeschooled. Lloyd lives at a school, and his dad's played by Luis Guzman. It's always nice to have Luis Guzman in there, who's in Carlito's Way, Boogie Nights, many other movies. And when they met, you know, they're running to school. Lloyd doesn't realize, well, he needs to go to school. His father's trying to tell him, you're already at school. Maybe he'll learn one day. They run towards each other. They hit each other. And right then is when the movie worked. Because like I said, these two guys, it's a tough act to follow. I'm not saying it's better than the first Dumb and Dumber. It's not. But for the obstacles against these guys, where no one was going to, not many people were ever going to give this a chance because they go, well, no Jim Carrey and no Jeff Daniels, why watch? And that's why the film didn't do that well. They put a pretty damn admirable job doing it. They collide, and Lloyd chips his tooth and is caught in Harry's forehead and just like, someone bit me in the forehead. Yeah, what the hell? No, don't throw that away. I was going to use that for the tooth fairy. There's no tooth fairy. My mom gives me money for that, for the teeth. Your mom's the tooth fairy? Lord Christmas. I'm bragging about my mom and you're Santa's kid? Like, that kind of dumb is what I think of Dumb and Dumber. Not, okay, Jim Carrey pretend to be in a coma for a decade or two. Or we're going to pull this stuff out of a woman's crotch and there's a lot of dust. And that's the joke, there's a dust. Having a joke about Asperger's or whatever the hell they tried to do. Blowing up a hotel room and a guy's on fire, so he goes into the pool and they're laughing. Even in the first Dumb and Dumber, when the guy was choking, hey, it was just a goof, and they're trying to save him. As the guy trying to kill. But it just... I always liked this, what I saw in the theater back in the day. I liked it even more compared to, like I said, that sequel. Now, the plot itself, other than that, it does feel like a direct-to-video movie, plot-wise. Like, seems like it, where, as in some of the production value, like I said, there's a part of it that is kind of surprised this went to theaters. I think if people watch it, they would go, oh, they would assume it was a direct-to-video movie. Maybe it would have worked out better, because there's a lot of money to be put into marketing, making a deal with theater owners. I don't think, sadly, this would ever have been a hit. Because, like I said, without Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels, understandably so, people go, fuck that, I'm not seeing it. But at the same time, these two guys, they probably got chastised. I know this gets, what, a 3.79 to be, or... It does not deserve to be that low. Not in the slightest, in my opinion. Because the two leads, and they did a wonderful job, and I think it's fairly consistently funny. What I mean by the plot is Eugene Levy, who I liked, who was in a lot of the American Pie movies. He's the principal. Cherry O'Terry from SNL, she's the secretary, and they have a bit of a love thing going on. They want to have a scam where if they have a special needs class, the school gets, I forget how much money. Well, they'll just make a bullshit class, and then they get the money, and then they can use it for whatever they want. And of course, they see Harry and Lloyd, they go, perfect. Hey, you guys just get whatever kids you can find, and we have this BS cast. And it's pretty much just Harry and Lloyd dealing with this class, and then that kind of disappears, or there comes back. Because then it's about this girl, and they're both in love with the same girl, kind of like, like the first movie. So the plot isn't the most important. It's the humor and the chemistry between these two guys. And again, they really do a good job in evoking Jim and Jeff. Whether it be when they're in this class with the lunch lady, who's a secretary. Well, it's a secretary, but they're in the lunchroom, in the kitchen, and Eric Richards host is like, "Is this gonna be on the test?" And the way he's like moving, and he's like going so big and wild, I'm like, that's what Jim Carrey would have done in that scene. And people say it's an imitation. Well, if it's supposed to be the younger version of that, isn't that kind of what you want? And they get some of these guys. I recognize some of them. One is a guy who's kind of a bully. He was Seth Green's buddy in Idle Hands, where they both get killed and then they come back. Shia LaBeouf is in this, wearing a mascot. Or he wears these kind of suits for advertising in stores. And, of course, Harry and Lloyd are so dumb they think that he's part horse. so they sign him up for it. And there's a bit where they get all the classmates together, and you have the A-Team theme playing. It was pretty funny. As more about Harry and Lloyd bonding, they go over to Harry's place. His mom kisses both of them on the forehead. I think the mom is Mimi Rogers, which I've seen in a lot of stuff. Good actress. And of course, with a kiss on the forehead, Lloyd assumes, your mom totally made a move on me. I'm gonna be your new dad. Shut up, Lloyd. Don't talk back to your dad like that. You see how they deal with the your it type of thing. And there's this guy, I forget his name. I've seen him a lot of stuff. He owns the store. And he gets pissed at them. It's like, this whole store is whole free. Could he do that? He can. And he did. It's on like Donkey Kong. That's probably the first I've ever heard that phrase. It's on like Donkey Kong. So my introduction to that was in this movie. And it's just a lot of them doing kind of like the first movie. Just, the first movie was a road trip, but it was consistent of them just doing these dumb little excursions back and forth. Same with this, just without the road trip. And would it be the brain freeze scene? I remember I was going on YouTube and someone's like, "Oh my god, this is like the worst scene ever." If you think that's the worst scene ever, you haven't seen you haven't seen many movies. As in barely any fucking movies. I mean, hell, take a bunch of movies this year. Expendables 4, with the fucking dildo in the bar, and everything being green screen. Mikey twerking his ass in Mutant Mayhem. Or April O'Neil puking for 2 minutes straight. Okay. Because Lloyd keeps telling her, you gotta go fast, come on, you gotta drink that stuff, you gotta go fast, go fast, go fast. And they're like, I can't feel my face. Or there's a bit where Harry's trying to talk to this girl named Jessie. And he's like preparing himself. Hey Jessie, how's it going? No. Hey Jessie, how's it doing? And then the reveal is that she's there staring at him the whole time. And also it's nice, it doesn't have a whole lot of raunch jokes to try to fall back on. The one that you think they're going to do, the toilet scene, they put a nice twist where he thinks, but he brought a chocolate bar and it melted. And he actually smeared it all over. So when he leaves, Bob Saget, may he rest in peace, he plays that girl's dad. And he just assumes, and that made it funnier to me, is that we know it's chocolate, but you think he could tell by the smell, or lack thereof. But the scene is still, just because of Bob Saget's reaction, is still funny. He shit everywhere. He shit on the walls. He shit on the mirror. There's shit everywhere. Damn it! And just Bob Saget is just exasperated, almost just ear-curling scream of just torment. And yeah, for me, it's funnier that we know it's chocolate. He assumes the worst. Same with, and they do a callback on that later on, except instead of chocolate, it's mud. My car's covered in shit! Rest in peace, Bob Saget. It's a thankless role, but his reaction, his delivery, made that scene work. That's what made it work, was his delivery of that. Bob Saget, missed the very funny guy. His stand-up was not my cup of tea, because he tried to go very below the belt raunch, and because he was trying to be the opposite of Full House. In fact, even before Full House, I think that's how he always was stand-up. So I'm not really been into his stand-up, but when I saw him in movies or TV and stuff, movies like this, I always thought he was funny. Same with in interviews. Probably one of the few like raunch dads is there's a fantasy scene because they do callbacks from the first one. Like they annoy someone where someone gets pissed off and yells at them, just like the most annoying sound in the world. They do that in the store where was it Brian Posehn, I think is his name, who owns the store, where he does his aspirate. That's where he says that it's home free. That don't play that game here. Or like in the first one where there's a fantasy scene where it's Jim Carrey on a date, and then he does the ripping the heart out, putting in the doggy bag. This is not nearly as memorable. I would say for me the weakest scene in the movie. Because again, it's trying to mimic something from the first. Doesn't do as good of a job. It's pretty much the girly lights and Harry's mom in this pool, and you guys have a makeout contest, and there's a fart gag. To me, that's the weakest scene in the movie. I would have been fine if that was completely cut out. And the plot is kind of just whatever, because they build up the scene with the class, but then they don't really do much with the class. Where like there's a scene in a school bus where there's this chase that happens because the girl Jessie is a school reporter. She knows something's up, and Cherry O'Terry tells the bus driver. I think the bus driver is Lynn Shay. Says this is a New Line Cinema film, and Bob Shay owned it at the time. So, hey, put my sister in this however you can. Bob Shay did that a lot with New Line Cinema Productions. And it's not like a big car chase. It's just it's there. It's average. But then the class, like you don't get a whole lot about the other characters. One's an Asian girl who you think is a stereotype, but then you realize that it's an at. Oh, I just do this to beat guys. Do you want the accent back? Okay, dude. I thought that was kind of funny. They play off against that trope. Where again, she does it on purpose to get guys. And then guy likes the accent, so she goes back to doing it. But for me, you don't really get a whole like Shia LaBeouf. They're not in a whole lot. So you think it's going to be much more about the way Harry Lloyd interacts with these classmates and how he interacts with each of these people and this group of people interact. No, it's just kind of just a, I don't know how else to put it. You think it's going to be more about them interacting with these classmates. It's not really. It's just, which it just makes sense more about Harry and Lloyd and their solo adventures, so to speak. And like I said, what makes the film work is the two leads and their chemistry, in my opinion. Like when they try to get back to the store, they can't get into the convenience store. They talk to this little kid, and they want some slushies. Okay, well, I'll pay you $2 hairs. $2. Okay, give it to me. Huh, I said doll hairs. And the kid's like, okay, give me the $2 hairs. And then they're both worried. You called our bluff. Would you take $5 instead? And the kid's just like, I like that the kid played it in a subtle fashion, kind of. Go what, Harry? Like yeah, that idea that's felt more like Dumb and Dumber to me. And Harry, when he was a kid, he was a fan of this pirate imaginary friend. And so Lloyd wants to do something nice for Harry, so he thinks he found the chest. And then it's really the evidence that Eugene Levy had kept. And they don't know it yet, but still fuck over Eugene Levy and them. And like they're arguing why they should open it and whose this chest belongs to. And out of the blue, Eric Richard Olsen goes, I ate your mom's pie. It's one of those, like, it starts here and somehow just goes over to here. But they're so committed to it. It's not winking to the camera every 5 minutes, and is this good enough? It's just, for better or worse, they were committed to it, and that's what made it work. And I actually would like to have seen another one with these two guys. Of course, I said that with Dumb and Dumber 2, and that turned out to be awful, so. But yeah, nobody liked this film when it came out. I'm probably the only person on YouTube that would ever give it a positive review. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't care. I do like the film. I think it's, like I said, the story is nothing special. The story kind of streams direct to video level with the principal and his team. The production value is nothing noteworthy enough to stream that this would go into theaters. One of the few times I did hear Ice Ice Baby being used and not blow my brains out because Lloyd uses it at the beginning when he's at school, getting ready for school. It's a fairly short film, goes by a good pace. Eugene Levy is always nice to see him in there. He's a good comedian. And overall, still a fun film. Still rather enjoyed it. So, with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.